Hello, you are listening to On The Topic, and this week I'm an angel and I'm trying to figure out why I don't use my powers at certain points. I'm Dan.
And I'm riddled with logical inconsistencies and continuity errors, and I'm Alex. And welcome to another On The Topic, and this week we're talking about plot holes, but of the TV variety.
And if you want to hear about our film plot holes, where we probably ruin some of your favourite films, just skip back a few episodes. It is there.
OTT 69, Dan.
See, now you've beaten me to the punch this week.
I have, only because it's in the description below, guys and girls, so if you want to have that hyperlink, all you've got to do is read on down in the description, click on that juicy URL, and go listen to some great movie plot holes. But no, this is of the TV variety. But before we get into that, Dan, what have you been up to? Anything exciting since last saw each other?
So I'm currently on annual leave. I've got a week off at the time of recording. I went to Brighton for a couple of days, which was very nice. So we went to Dave's Comics, bought some graphic novels, as you do.
Of any particular kind?
The Amazing Spider-Man.
Of course it is, yeah.
The current run by Zeb Wells, which is questionable in the Marvel world. Some fans are questioning certain aspects of the plot. I don't want to ruin it for people, but it revolves around Mary Jane and a family.
All right. But it's enough not to put you off buying it.
No, I want to see where it goes, and plus it is leading up to a certain Miss Marvel's death.
Yes, I've heard about this controversy.
Apparently it hasn't gone down well, but then some people were not that bothered equally.
Yes, indeed.
What else? We went to Unbarred Brewery while we were there. So I pre-ordered some beers, some nice barrel-aged stouts, 3 different versions. So I went to pick them up, but on the day I went to pick them up, we were the first ones there when the doors opened, and they just released a new beer.
Wow.
So I was the first one to try it.
Lovely.
Very nice. It was a cold-pressed summer stout. And you look at me perplexed.
I am. Yes, it's my usual standard go-to when Dan starts talking about anything other than what's usual on tap in a high street pub. But what's a cold-pressed stout?
It's a white stout.
Okay.
So it's not what you imagine. It doesn't look like a Guinness. It's a very dark amber colour. The main flavours were coffee, and then the back notes were sort of chocolate, caramel, and there was a sort of fruitiness which I couldn't place, but someone replied to me on a forum on Facebook and said it's cherry.
Oh wow. But
there is sort of elements of like peach and apricots.
A bit earthy, fruity kind of vibes.
It's quite refreshing. If you imagine like going to Costa but they pour you a cold coffee, but it's like fresh.
Because stout's usually room temperature, right?
Yeah.
Apart from, I guess, Guinness, which is usually cold or chilled.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
It was very good. So if anyone is in Brighton or they find this summer pressed cold stout or whatever, I've just completely misnamed it. But if anyone sees it, try it. It is very good. Pop culture wise, just started The Witcher season 3.
Okay, good.
Strong start, only an episode in, but lots of gore, as you imagine.
And that's bulk released, right? It's Netflix, yes. So you can go and watch it all to your heart's content. You don't have to wait for another week of release. Imagine
my shock when you said you hadn't seen season 2 yet.
I know.
And we reviewed season 1 all the way back just before COVID hit.
We did.
In the TW Rad days.
I'll get around to it.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Be interested to get your thoughts. And of course Secret Invasion, which has just started. I don't think we'll get time to review it, sadly. We've sort of got the next few weeks mapped out.
We have.
I mean, it's usually been a bit chaotic. We sort of just go on a tangent. Oh yeah, we might record this, but we've got stuff planned in. We've had to book it in. You're away in August.
Yep. So yes, we have got some lovely content lined up. We've got to be very sparingly with what we're actually going to be doing. So yes, listener, although contrary to what it sounds like, we do actually plan these episodes. Yeah. So yes, we've got a lovely lineup. But no, look, listener, if you do want us to do a review, then get in contact and let us know, and perhaps it could be after we're back from holiday.
Yeah, I have to wait till August. It won't be time relevant or delicious. Well, kind of. We can do it.
We could do it. Fine. Let us know. If there's interest, we can.
Yeah. But that's it from me, really. Not much else has happened the last couple of weeks. What about you, Alex?
Not an awful lot, Dan. and listener. Just the usual good stuff around week-to-week life. Pop cultural wise, so I've caught up on the first episode of the latest season of Black Mirror.
Netflix.
Netflix. Charlie Brooker, very dark, looks at society, turns it to a very dark place. Quite satirical. I won't spoil it, but it's all about Netflix and about AI and supercomputers, and all those things are actually quite relevant at the minute.
And of course, we've been talking a lot about AI recently.
Indeed.
Actually, head over to our socials, which I'll drop at the end. I drew us being chased down by some seagulls.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't draw it.
No.
AI did, but it was
AI.
good fun.
I'm using one of those pictures. I've assumed who I am in that picture, by the way, and it's now my profile picture on WhatsApp. Have you seen that?
I did.
Did I assume the right person? Do you mind being the other person?
No, I don't mind.
Okay, that's
good.
good.
In AI, you can be anyone.
You can. Apparently, there's scammers where I think you mentioned this recently, where they have mimicked people's voices, and then they've said, "Can you send me money?
Yes.
Can you go to this link?" But it's not intelligent enough to say, "Oh, tell me, your secret word or what's the password." So you can trip up the very simple, rudimentary AI, but it's a bit worrying that they can actually capture your voice.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, I'd like to think that would never happen to us. But, I have pre-warned friends and family on my Facebook, said, look, if you get any calls, I mean, of course I'm skint all the time, but I'm never going to ask you for money. Make sure if you ever get a phone call like that from not real me, that you ask them questions of something that only we would know.
Yeah.
So, got to be careful.
It's like, do you sleep in your boxers or in the nude?
Boxers.
Well, now they're going to say boxers when they ask it.
Well,
You've already given away your secret password, Dan. Come on.
But am I hairy or trimmed? I'm not going to give that answer away.
Wow, on your face? Trimmed. But it's hairy.
Groomed.
Yes. Manicured. Anyway, again, a good segue, as it always is on the topic. Anything else? Black Mirror. I watched Avatar 2. Finished that off.
Oh, you finished it?
Yeah.
I haven't got around to watching it.
Really good.
Better than the first one?
Yeah. They riff similar notes to the first one, so it's less groundbreaking, but I think storyline's still very good. Still hits you in the feels. It's all about family. CGI. I mean, I was watching it on the train home from London, I think last time we were recording.
Yes. Yeah.
Finished it off a couple of days later on watching the TV at home. And the quality is mind-blowing. You can see where the 7 or 8 years went.
Yeah.
It's really good. Worth watching. Long film, but it's worth sticking out. What else? I'm watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, very, very good.
Paramount
Plus. Another streaming service. I've got my own thoughts on how they all divide and conquer. But anyway, that's really, really good. Really thoroughly enjoying it. So yeah, plenty to watch at the minute.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Plenty to watch. But talking of plenty to watch, actually, we've watched plenty of stuff. And so have you, listener. In fact, we've got quite a lot of listener interaction at the end of the episode, which I can't wait to get into. But we'll talk about plot holes. I think just don't make sense sometimes, Dan.
No.
You're watching. The problem with long-standing series is after a while they trip up and they forget. And this episode, listener, is all of those things combined. It's all the things that we know and love, and we think, hang on a minute. Did that just happen? Should that have happened? Dan, you're going to ask me a question.
What is a plot hole?
Oh, glad you asked, Dan. Well, a TV plot hole refers to a gap or inconsistency. See, we do plan some things, even if it's on the hoof. Inconsistency in the storyline or a narrative of a television show. Now, it is a flaw that often disrupts the logical flow of events or contradicts the established facts within the fictional world of the series which takes place. Now, plot holes can range from minor inconsistencies or oversights to significant gaps in logic or continuity. To give you an idea of some of the things we'll talk about during this episode, well, there could be continuity episode errors, so these are inconsistency in details of a story, including character appearances, settings or events. I've got a couple. I think you have two, I think.
Yeah.
For example, a character who is shown to possess a certain item in one episode suddenly doesn't have it in the next episode without any explanation. There can be logical inconsistencies. These refer to situations or actions or events where he defies basic logic or common sense. For instance, a character making a decision that's completely out of character, or a storyline that contradicts the established rules of the show's universe. Again, I've got one of those. Plenty of these ones I've seen. Unresolved or forgotten storylines.
Yeah,
I think that's self-explanatory.
got one of those.
Which can leave us often confused or frustrated because you want that closure, Dan. You've invested.
Oh, Lost is riddled with those.
They are. And then plot contrivances. So these occur when the writers introduce in unrealistic or convenient elements solely to move the storyline on or to solve a problem, which can often feel a bit cheap as you watch it. Now, these can obviously vary in significance, and there could be quite small inconsistencies where people, like us, point them out and go, there's a little Easter egg here. In this episode, they did this, or they said that, or they met for the first time, but they've already done it.
Yeah.
Or it could be quite major to, as we say, unfinished storylines. Perhaps the writers lost interest or they ran out of money.
Yes.
But either way, we've got quite a few. I think we've got 6 unique each, right?
Yes. And we haven't really spoken about each other's plot holes, but we've sort of gone over what we're.
I think it's quite impolite to talk about my plot hole, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Thanks.
However, we don't have anything that's the same.
We don't.
Which is brilliant.
It's a minor miracle, but they're all really, really good ones. And I'm more than happy, Dan, for you to kick us off this week.
I probably should, because this actually came about with me and my other half talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes, we've been not teasing this specific aspect. Do you haven't found a reason or a rationale to what we've been teasing for the last couple of weeks?
No. So if anyone's been listening, we've been talking about vampires. And
the guys with the pointy teeth and look a bit pale, could do with a bit of vitamin D, and they suck blood.
Because, I mean, how on earth are these bastards getting erections and having sex?
Yeah, they're horny devils, aren't they? In a lot of the...
are genuinely quite horny in this series. So much so, I watched... we're on season 5 at the moment, and Spike gets
Buffy.
He gets a robotic one created.
Right.
Robotic one, yeah.
Okay.
Very
member.
Bizarre. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, was he in some horrific kind of season finale where he ended up being chopped up and they said no?
No.
No.
No, that didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
Or, not yet anyway.
Or in my Mandela Effect world, I remember that storyline. But yeah, how do they get the old heave-ho when they don't have a blood flow to biologically make it happen? But you never found an answer for that.
No, I came up with no answers.
That is an unresolved plot hole, ladies and gentlemen, that we'll never find the answer to. But you've got another one from that world, I guess.
I do. I do want to address a little bit around the vampires and erections.
Oh, okay.
So it is unfortunately something you have to suspend your disbelief in. I mean, there are a few instances where the vampires and Buffy do things they clearly and scientifically shouldn't be capable of doing. So if vampires have no perfusion or blood flow, then they shouldn't bleed.
Yep.
They do. I know they do because I just watched Spike get the shit kicked out of him by Glory in season 5, and he is an absolute mess.
Oh.
Like, he's covered in bruises, there's blood everywhere.
Yeah, how's that work?
Exactly. If they have no breath, then why are they able to run around and fight forever and never become winded? Because they're always out of breath, Alex.
Oh yeah, it's true.
When they're having a good old scrap, somehow
fight forever.
Exactly, it's madness. I mean, we can try to rationalise it. I'd say that maybe they're just more human than we think they are.
Wow.
But we've got a voice note from a listener about vampires shortly.
I'm looking forward to it.
So we'll talk about that. But I do have a genuine plot hole around Buffy.
Tell us.
So, one girl in all the world. Now, as you know, it's at the start it says, into every generation a Slayer is born, one girl in all the world, a chosen one. This already doesn't really make any sense, but we'll go with it because the Shadow Men obviously had their reasons. However, is there any logic behind why said chosen one remains in one place? You'd think she'd get all over the world.
Oh, right, yeah.
Sunnydale can't be the only area located on top of a Hellmouth. Nor is it the only town plagued by supernatural. We know this because Buffy goes up the road. Not Buffy, Angel. He goes up the road to LA. And he's fighting supernatural crime.
He is.
It happens. And of course, who was the other vampire slayer the second one, Faye.
Yeah.
She bugs off. She's obviously fighting vampires and demons. It defies logic for Buffy to remain there. Kendra obviously went where the actual threat was. Having a home base would be one thing. We know that when the series starts out, Buffy doesn't even have her licence yet, which would make travel pretty difficult. Not to mention that whole truancy thing. Can you imagine you have to bunk off school to travel over to, I don't know, Tokyo and fight a demon. Still, it's never really explained why slaying isn't a more mobile operation. However, thankfully the comics did address the issue by having Slayer cells positioned across the globe. But that's the comics.
But then that's not just one, is it?
No.
Interesting.
So yes, that is my first plot hole.
Okay.
Buffy. But unfortunately, regarding the first one, I came off short. I did try to dive deep into the dark corners of the internet about these vampires.
You've got to be careful what you're Googling. Because you might not get what you're looking for. Well, you might. I don't know.
Might end up some dodgy parodies.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk about that.
We don't. That's for a different episode for a different time.
Oh, yes.
A slight deviation from that genre is comedy and The Big Bang Theory.
Big fan.
Are you?
Yeah, I used to watch Big Bang Theory. I think we binged it. I don't know if it was a COVID binge, but we watched them all start to finish.
I think we downloaded them years ago and just watched back to back, and then when they released, I think called E4 in the UK. Much the same thing happens week on week, but it's great. It's comfort viewing.
Just humour.
It is. It's really good. All about a group of friends. They are scientists or they're geeks in the nicest possible term. It's an inclusive term when I say geek. It's people who like fringe entertainment, but they're comfortable in their own skin and they've got a really good kind of friendship base going on. This is all about how it started off, though. So in season 1 of The Big Bang Theory, Leonard makes it a point to tell Howard that their building's elevator is irreparably broken when he tries to use it, which makes audiences think that Howard didn't know about the elevator.
Yes, I know the elevator, because every time they go up the stairs, they always walk past it.
Yeah, and they're always talking, which you think from a set design perspective is a bit insane, because actually... Have you seen behind the scenes of this show?
No.
Yeah, it's on a stage, so it is live recorded, so you do have an audience.
A bit like Friends was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But they must have a different stage built for a different stairway, because the stairs do descend below the stage level, so they are walking up some stairs, but they're not walking up from the floor below. They're walking up just from the basement of the stage, and as they're walking, obviously then they're recording, and the audience are watching from the ground level. So that's quite a few stages they've got to transition to in a scene, which is not an easy thing to do. But anyway, the elevator doesn't work. However, several episodes later, in a couple of seasons later, Leonard recounts the actual story of how it broke. Now, in that explanation, that is one of my favourite episodes, because they have this running joke about the fact it's not working, and then we actually find out. Leonard's experimenting with a rocket. So I think, is it a secret, like NASA project or an FBI project? He shouldn't really be doing it, and it ends up this super secret rocket ends up smoking and going off, and the only way for them to save the building from blowing up is to shove it down the elevator shaft. It explodes thanks to Sheldon's quick thinking, of course. Now, Howard was actually present when that episode happened. See, who was there years previously when they're in the apartment building this thing. But yet, obviously, fast forward to season 1 beginning, he doesn't know anything about it, which is odd. So they're both there at the time, and he had to explain something that actually they were both there for, and he knew. So they didn't really think that far ahead or do their research into their own programme when they then were filming later episodes.
Oh dear. And they said it was irreparable. Doesn't it work in the very last episode of the final season?
I think it does.
So it's not irreparable.
It's not.
It gets fixed. Just takes a few years.
Now, some people may say, oh, well, there was a different reason as to why it was broken the second time around. Perhaps it was poorly maintained, but that wasn't explained. So at the moment, we're saying it's a bad continuity error there. They didn't do their research. They had someone there that perhaps shouldn't have been.
Oh dear.
So yeah, my first one is the elevator from The Big Bang Theory.
Right, I'm going to kick things off with another supernatural series.
Oh yeah.
Supernatural.
Ah.
Over to your favourite Demon Slayers, Sam and Dean Winchester. And of course their budding sidekick, Castiel, who is an angel.
Okay.
I want to talk about two things. His unnecessary car rides and his powers only worked in certain times. So angels can teleport to other locations on the show, but why was it absolutely necessary for Cass to either drive or take a ride in a car? Makes no sense. Now it's understandable, that Castiel's relationship with Sam and Dean grew as the seasons go on, and therefore they welcome him as part of the family. Now there were moments when Castiel could have just used the good old-fashioned angelic teleportation to get from point A to point B, but he doesn't. He spends most of his hours sitting in a car, which is probably torturous for an angel that can do that, right? And when all of them are supposed to be accustomed to quick supernatural movements.
And I haven't seen this, by the way. We'll talk about this before recording. So can the human, what are they called? Killers?
Sam and Dean.
What are they?
I suppose they're like demon hunters.
Demon hunters? Demon slayers?
Demon hunters, yeah.
Okay. Can they be transported with the angel? Can they do Harry Potter when they're transfiguring? Is that word? Not transfiguring. When they're using a portkey, can they grab onto each other and be taken along for the ride? Or
don't recall that ever happening. I might be wrong. So if any of our listeners do remember Supernatural, because I only watched up to about season 8, and that's going back a few years.
Because I wonder whether that's a way for them to say, well, if we're all going to go together, just your angel mate's going to be there waiting, tapping his toes, waiting for his two mates to turn up.
Exactly. But it just
it's a pointless power.
It is. Well, let's talk about some of his other powers. Now, some fans have later pointed out that Cass could have healed more people, so angels can heal in this program as well.
Okay.
Touch people, heal up the wounds.
It's good to know.
But yet he didn't for some reason.
Yeah.
Granted, the favourite angel lost his powers and experienced a bunch of setbacks many times, but nevertheless, once his healing powers returned, it's a mystery why he didn't help out a few people that actually ended up dying.
That's just selfish.
I know. He wasn't meant to save every single victim, but since Cass became more emotionally in touch, he probably could have acted a bit more quickly and healed a few more people.
Oh dear.
So yeah, it does make sense. He's got these powers, doesn't really use them.
So is it more a case of, for telling a story, he's perhaps overpowered because he's got to sit it out and explain to the audience what they're doing for the plot, as opposed to just teleporting or saving everyone. If you can save everyone, no one's in peril, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I suppose if he could just do these things, you probably wouldn't have an entire series.
Why would you be invested in characters if they're not got a car kit?
I mean, it's like these memes you see on the internet, right? I know this isn't a TV series, but you've seen the Doctor Strange one from Multiverse of Madness, where Wanda's like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to do all this blood stuff that sort of leads to the entire film. But in the meme, Doctor Strange goes, well, why don't we just take you to a different universe where they've lost their Wanda and you can have those kids?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The end.
100%.
But, hey, we're just picking holes in some of these things. It's fine.
But it is illogical.
Yeah. It's illogical. It's got these powers, doesn't use them.
A useless team member.
Yeah.
Going to ye olden days, bit of sex, drugs and longswords now. Game of Thrones.
Don't get me started. It's not about season 8, is it?
No.
I'm sure that's riddled with plot holes.
No, we got up to season 6 and 7. The first one is 2. I'm going to back to back here. Poor choice of words if you've actually seen the programme. Melisandre's necklace.
Yeah.
Do you remember Melisandre?
Yeah. Didn't she bring Jon Snow back to life?
I think so. Lady in red. Quite a looker.
Yeah.
I won't cook her out of bed.
Redhead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when she's not wearing a necklace, she's not lady.
Yes,
She's
that's
a
right.
hag.
Yeah.
She's lived forever. Almost looks a bit like a witch from The Witches, the
Yeah.
90s horrific Roald Dahl TV adaptation film.
Pale, like the droopy nose.
Yeah,
I
all
don't know
that kind
why.
of
No
thing.
one can see me push my nose down like it's drooping.
I got it.
You did.
Yeah. So Lady Melisandre, or the Red Woman, as she was sometimes called, was one of the Game of Thrones' most disturbing and compelling characters. Apparently young and beautiful, she was the show's season 6 premiere revealed that she was actually ancient, and her youthful appearance came from a magical ruby necklace. So she always had it on her. It kind of defined her neckline. Very eye-catching, because obviously in the programme, most people are naked at some point.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And she was always wearing this necklace, and when she takes it off in the latter seasons, she's a prune.
Yep.
Now, this shocking revelation contradicted what viewers saw in Game of Thrones' 4th season, so 2 seasons before. In the episode Mockingbird, Lady Melisandre took a bath. It's Game of Thrones.
Yep.
And despite her youth, she clearly wasn't wearing her necklace.
Oh, dear.
Dope. So this was chalked up to be an on-set blunder by actress Carice Van Houten. But of course it still bothers fans because she should have been wearing a necklace throughout. A necklace that gave her that power, gave her the ability to present herself as someone that she wasn't. And she wasn't actually wearing it when we first introduced her 2 seasons prior. So again, this is where a plot device just doesn't continue or has been made up later on to satisfy the storyline.
Yeah.
Another one, Dead Dragons. So season 7, things are hotting up, Dan, and we see the onset of flying things in the air. Now, apparently one of the biggest weaknesses of the White Walkers was revealed. Apparently, they're afraid of water. I don't remember that, but I think I remember Jon Snow being able to escape on a boat or something, and the White Walkers couldn't follow them.
I think it was like season 6, I think.
6 and 7, yeah. However, this limitation was paused momentarily when, by order of the Night King, the Walkers pulled the dragon Viserion, thank
Something
you.
like that.
Yeah, that'll do. Out of the icy water he fell into after being struck by a spear. There were some dragons which they managed to call upon to join their crew and to take out the ensuing horde of the Night Walkers, the White Walkers. But they also knew that if they killed a dragon, they could make it one of their own.
Yeah.
Almost like a modern day zombie.
Yeah, because they turned it, didn't they?
They did.
And it was like an ice dragon thingy.
That's right. The Night King would end up flying that dragon. He wanted one for himself. He thought, they looked cool. I want one of my own. So in order to get one, you had to kill it and then do their whatever they do. They zhuzh it up and they end up then making it its own. But in order to get to the dragon, which is a heavy bastard, he's dropped into the water, the icy water. The undead have actually got to go and get it.
Oh.
Well, how are they going to do that? Because they're scared of water. But they do, and they wrap chains around the poor bastard and they yank him out. They do their business, and the Night King's got a fresh dead dragon.
Well, this wouldn't have happened in the books.
No.
George is very down to the line. He knows what he's doing, he knows what he's talking about, and he knows what he's writing about.
Indeed.
Of course, they pulled him, didn't they, from
parted ways.
Part of the TV series.
Yeah, did they part company into season 5, was it, I think?
Yeah.
Just doesn't make sense, Dan. They can't enter the water, but they retrieve the dragon that's at the bottom of this lake or sea. And the dragon ends up seeing to fight another day.
Oh.
Quite a big one, because that's the whole point of why they couldn't pursue Jon Snow and the other member of his group.
Bizarre.
Very strange. Dead dragons.
Yeah. Talking of strange, let's head over to Lost.
Yeah.
I mean, very good series, apart from maybe the final episode. But there were some unresolved mysteries.
Plenty.
Or things that were never really explained. Do you remember the lottery numbers?
I do.
And I'm sure our listeners will reel these off.
Who was the guy with the big curly hair who was... was that his storyline?
Yeah.
It was.
Hugo
yeah.
Hurley. So, anyone that is listening to this that was a fan of Lost, you'll know the numbers. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23 and 42. And they frequently occurred throughout the series.
They did.
And if you've never tried to use those numbers when you're actually playing the real lottery in real life, where have you been? I tried it once, Alex. I didn't win. Yeah, didn't win nothing. Got nothing. But they were forever a prevailing mystery. The first were that the cursed equation that linked somehow to the island, in turn making Hurley's life hell when he used the numbers and won the lottery. Well, of course, he won it and I didn't. They were then engraved and used in the hatch to stop the world ending, and by not typing them, bringing our team to the island. Makes no sense. Later, it was revealed each number corresponded with one of the final candidates to replace Jacob as protector of the island. So John Locke was number 4, Hugo Hurley Reyes was 8, Sawyer, or James Ford, was 15, Saeed Jarrah was 16, Jack Shepherd was 23, and Jinsu Kwon was 42. Did it ever explain why they were so important or cursed? No. Because how could you tangibly explain why numbers are so important? It's just a mystery. We'll never know. We'll never know why those numbers were so cursed or relevant.
But yeah, they were.
Seemingly. Apparently. It's an entire mystery. So that is lost. What are the numbers?
I
mean, if anyone does have the answer, then get in touch. We'll put the contact details at the end. Maybe I've missed something.
But all I'm taking away from that is I need to play the lottery and play those numbers. Just for lols.
See if you win. I mean, I didn't. Like I say, I'm no richer now, sadly.
I mean, I'm no mathematician, obviously, guys. You know that by now. But I think you got the exact same odds as anyone, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's just luck, isn't it? Got to be in it to win it, as they say.
You have. £2.50 now for the Euros.
Jesus, it used to be like £2, didn't it? Or £1.50.
£1.50.
Back in my day.
Back in your day. No, £2.50 now. Euro Millions. Anyway. Star Trek.
Yep.
Bit of sci-fi.
Ooh, lovely.
How do the ships fly, Dan? Do you remember? Do you know the speeds and what they refer to them as?
Was it like hyperdrive? Something like that? Close,
in as much as all the similar concept. Although those of the scientific community would be shouting at their headphones saying that's wrong. They had impulse drive, which is just slower, but right. it goes. It's your usual speed. Before they get somewhere faster, you do warp.
Yeah.
Do warp drive or hyperdrive, as some other shows refer to it as. And you usually have impulse power or impulse speed. Then you go warp 1, 2, 3. You go all the way up to warp 9.
Yeah.
What happens at warp 10, Dan?
It's a light speed of some kind. I'm not a massive Trekkie, unfortunately.
No, you should do. It is great. Well, there's two prevailing theories. It doesn't make sense because something which is grounded in science, they really didn't continue it. So on the original Star Trek, the original series, William Shatner, 1966.
Brilliant, by the way. Good series.
Fantastic. And then on Star Trek Next Generation, which is later with Jean-Luc Picard, Sir Patrick Stewart and co. The Enterprise will zip around at warp 10. And the reason why I do that is because they need to get somewhere fast, perhaps for the plot, but they can reach warp 10. There's no limitations and nothing happens, and they never mention anything faster than warp 10, but warp 10 is your limit. It's the highest and fastest you can go. But in Star Trek Voyager, which actually is my favourite TV series from the Star Trek franchise, well, close to Strange New Worlds, which is the most recent.
Yeah.
But Voyager has a special place in my heart. In the episode Threshold, which I think is in season 4 or 6, I can't remember which one. I think it's 6. The writers seem to have forgotten about existing canon, and Tom Paris, who's the pilot of the Voyager, is problematic. He ends up at the beginning of the show. I think there's 7 or 8 seasons. At the beginning of the show, he is an ex-con who's brought on to help pilot the ship, and ends up being stranded on the other side of the galaxy. Ends up being integrated into the crew. Anyway, he is a fantastic pilot, and he ends up achieving warp 10 in a shuttlecraft, a smaller ship. and becomes, according to the Voyager crew, the first ever human to do so.
But it's already happened.
But apparently it's already happened, in 2 other series. Quite some time ago, 10, 15 years difference. Now they discovered that Warp 10 is actually so fast because apparently the character is simultaneously existing at every point of the universe at once. Too fast for humans. We just can't possibly conceive it. And the resulting impact is much derided or made much fun of in the Trek community, because 2 main characters, Captain Janeway, played by Kate Mulgrew, who's a fantastic actress, actor, and Tom Paris, end up, their DNA scramble so much to become salamanders.
Yeah.
So they go through space-time and they end up scrambling their DNA and they become different animals. They de-evolve.
Insane.
Because they're going too fast. And of course that is funny because, of course, other ships from other periods of time can achieve Warp 10. So the writers clearly forgot actually how fast ships can actually go. Didn't do their research, which is odd because actually Star Trek is... they try and make sure it's continuous and there's continuity and it all relevant or makes sense as much as possible. Even though a lot of the technology actually doesn't exist and it's all mumbo jumbo, they try and make sure that it's all used in consistent ways. Oddly, one of the most important things, how fast a ship can go, is forgotten in Star Trek Voyager.
Ouch.
Warp 10. Make it so, Dan.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Well, talking of power, let's talk about a different power.
Oh yeah.
Let's head over to The Witcher. As I say, season 3 has just started.
Toss a coin.
The cost of using magic changes.
Oh.
So early on in the series, we actually learn that there is a price for using magic, as most mystical beings do across whatever pop culture. You know, we've seen it in Doctor Strange.
Yes, it takes its toll, doesn't it?
It takes its toll.
Yeah.
So during Yennefer's time learning Aretusa, we see a girl's hand wither and dry for attempting to levitate a small rock without first holding a flower from which to drain the energy.
I remember.
However, this rule was never strictly adhered to ever again.
Oh.
The cost of using magic is wildly inconsistent throughout the series. Sometimes moving a large fog over a wide area can kill a person. At other times, teleporting from one place to another does nothing to hurt them. Just makes no sense. So the cost of using magic. Say nice, short, punchy.
One rule for one, but one rule for someone else.
Quite. So yeah, I say it's just a small one that, but...
Well, for a similar ilk, actually, we're going to go to Heroes, Dan.
Which will sort of nicely tie into my one.
Yeah, you might want to dovetail. This one, I mean, the series ran from 2006 to 2010. We were both, I'd say, relatively big fans, right? At least of the first 3
100%.
seasons.
So I think we might possibly do an episode on Heroes.
Yeah.
At some point. Maybe this year, maybe next. It's on the list.
We should do a watch long.
Yeah.
That'd be good. What's the whole back
Season
catalogue?
1 is phenomenal.
Oh, and season 2 actually is odd, but it's great. It ends up in a great finale. Incorrect healing, Dan.
I'm intrigued. I do wonder if this is going to tie into mine slightly because it is about the superpowers of the healing ilk.
Well, Claire Bennet, Hayden Panettiere. I think she's in the Scream films, you see, or she's in some franchise.
Also married a boxer, one of the Klitschko brothers.
Oh, she did, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's massive compared to her.
She's also known as the cheerleader, isn't she?
Save the cheerleaders, save the world.
Indeed. Well, she's one of the luckier teenage cheerleaders out there who has the impressive ability, and we introduced her, I think, in the first episode, to be able to regenerate herself. Yeah. So she's horrendously hurt. Actually, it's the first scene of the first series of episode 1, and she records herself on a camcorder hurting herself. And she says to the camera, "I'm Claire Bennet, blah, 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 blah."
This is Claire Bennet. That was attempt number 6.
Bear in mind, this is pre-smartphones, ladies and gents.
Indeed. And she records herself on, I mean, a lot of the younger generations actually won't know what she's recording on because it's not it's not a mobile phone. And we see her in the first episode, in fact, walking through fire and on many occasions nuclear blasts. But she apparently didn't know she had this ability until she entered high school. Yet when her biological mother reveals that she believed Claire died in a house fire as a baby, Heroes try to use her regenerative healing as a means of explaining how she survived. Okay, so her parents died, she was adopted, just the whole who's her father and who's the guy with the horn-rimmed glasses. But she had these powers, she survived this fire because she's got these latent powers and abilities, and they know about this, spoiler alert, and they end up bringing her in and shielding her from these nefarious government bodies who want to be able to experiment on her and her powers. But apparently then she doesn't know she's got these powers until she becomes a teenager. And there's actually a previous storyline actually said that she actually didn't develop them until she was a teenager. So there's a question of when she developed those powers, but she would have obviously known throughout her growing up that she never got ill, never hurt herself. People would have noticed that her arms stitched together. Her secret would have been fully out, but she didn't really realise until she was a teenager. But they retconned it because then they said, it developed when she went through puberty or something. So, yeah, it's an odd one to be able to actually say what her origins were and when she really regenerated and got these powers.
Yeah.
Depends on when you take that episode, but yeah, as far as we're aware, she's always had them.
Well, I'll latch on to that actually because this is about healing powers. So there was Adam as well, wasn't there? So he possessed healing powers much like Claire. The powers possessed by all the characters are manifested by using their mind.
Yes.
Now, the theory was brought forward by Mahinda and his father before him, and it's also confirmed by Sylar, who in season 1 spent most of the time cracking people's heads open and looking at their brains to see how they worked, or how their powers worked, should I say. In season 1, Claire gets stabbed through the brain with a stick, and she can no longer heal. Do you remember that episode?
I do, yeah. There's a really challenging scene, actually, retrospectively, for that period, and I think they managed it really well, where she gets attacked by an overzealous jock.
Yes.
She's attacked and she ends up hitting her head, and she gets impaled through the head with a stick. It's very gruesome, which stops her from healing.
Yeah, so not until that stick was removed did she come back to life. Now the same thing happened to Peter Petrelli, who of course was able to take on everyone's powers until season 3.
Yeah, season 3.
He lost his powers, got injected, but he can only pick up one power at the time. But of course he got a shard of glass through his skull.
Yeah.
So to confirm, the power comes from the brain. Seems to fit nicely, as all the other characters' powers come from some development in their brain too. Let's move on to season 2. Adam uses his blood to heal Nathan of his burns. Claire's blood is also used to bring Bennet back to life after he was shot in the head. So is it the blood that heals and not the brain?
Oh.
So why didn't Claire's blood heal her when she had the stick through her head?
I mean, there's plenty of it.
If it requires a combination of special blood and brain power, then surely the blood alone would not cure anyone.
Yeah.
Also, Sylar wouldn't be able to heal just by figuring out the brain side of it. He'd need the blood too.
Indeed.
Also, Peter and his father wouldn't be able to absorb healing powers as their blood would be normal.
True.
Over everything else in Heroes, this is probably the biggest plot hole, and it's something that stands out over and over again as a major flaw in the story.
Troubling.
Yes.
Which, for a show that's all about powers and how they work, it is a little bit odd that they couldn't even get that right with the big... They are all big characters. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
It's just very odd. I sort of latched onto that when... I was like, I wonder if there's any plot holes in Heroes, one of my favourite TV series in sort of, I guess, mid-noughties/10s. But yeah, I sort of found that on a forum and I was like, oh, that's quite fascinating.
Yeah. We should probably say, as a public service announcement, this might ruin some of your favourite TV shows.
As we have done with your films.
Yeah. We make no apologies because you knew what you're going to sign up to when you listen to this podcast. But yeah, it you might go back to these things and go, this is annoying. I can't suspend belief, but try to. It's entertainment at the end of the day. It's not there to be taken at face value, unless you talk about plot holes.
Yeah, we're here to ruin everything, but also bring you some joy.
Indeed. Speaking of enjoyment, as a wee nipper, little boy aged 6 or 7, I was collecting little figurines of plastic, which is very hard to come by at most Christmases, and they came by the form of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Very good.
1993 to 1996.
Yeah.
Of the original run. I think my son's now got into Dino Rangers. They've introduced dinosaurs.
Going?
It's still going, mate. It's on Netflix.
I know they've had sort of different iterations.
Yes.
I think I got up to like the Shogun Zords, where
That's still good.
I mean, it was all right. Yeah, I think that's about as far as I got, and then obviously I grew up and grew out of it.
That's a shame.
But I think I sort of latched onto Marvel around similar time
to fill that Power Rangers void.
Yeah, so I got heavily into Marvel, and sadly Power Rangers got left behind. Have you watched the? I know I'm sort of deviating away from the episode, but have you seen the sort of 1 hour film that was on Netflix?
Power Rangers?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
It's got the original Billy.
Yeah. The original
Zach.
cast.
It's all right.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah.
Oh.
CGI is not brilliant though.
No, it never was.
It's not memorable because I don't really remember what happens.
Oh.
I think it's.
But save the day.
It's based around Trini's daughter, actually. I think Trini dies, and her daughter takes the mantle as the Yellow Ranger. But it's all right. I don't. Maybe just check it out. So it's only an hour.
Bit of nostalgia.
Just for the original characters.
Okay. Well, speaking of the original characters, well, secret identities are always awesome on TV, especially when they're so well hidden. But here, it really isn't. In Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the world is consistently ravaged and destroyed by a group of teenagers with attitude actually there to defend it. Now, what's strange is that no one seems to notice that 6 absent chairs at Angel Grove High School every time the world needs saving.
Yeah.
So no one knows the identities of these people in these helmets and these jumpsuits who are doing these cartwheels and karate chopping the hell out of the alien-looking things. It just so happens when shit goes down, these consistent 5 or 6 kids are nowhere to be seen. No one's missing them. No one's taking register and going, right, where's Billy Bob? Where's... yeah, they're not. Yeah. Yeah, Billy Bob, the purple and white ranger. Or Chantel, the mauve one. Like, no one's taking a roll call, when they're out of the safety of the chaos that's ensuing on the campus of Angel Grove. No one's caring about these 6 people. That's bad, isn't it?
Of course, it's a good point. But also, at what point are people not realising? Oh, do you know what, Jason over there? He wears a lot of red, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Does he like the colour red, or is he the Red Ranger?
Oh,
no one's questioning this.
That's a bit of a jump, though, Dan. Actually, just because you have an affiliation. I mean, my favourite colour's red. But am I a red Power Ranger?
Do you wear red every episode of a TV series?
No.
See, I mean, he's there every day.
It's a done deal.
With his red checkered shirt, and then the next day he might rock up with
red hoodie or something.
A red hoodie, or
it looks good.
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to wear a red gi while I teach my karate lessons to my students.
Maybe.
How are people not questioning this? And of
True,
course,
actually,
these
yeah.
kids are outside the bloody cafe, whatever it's called, kicking the crap out of the putties.
Yeah. It's a good observation, actually, Dan. I never really thought about that. They all are usually wearing their suit colours. They're all going missing, and they use their suit. They wear their suit colours. Yeah. Why are these people not putting 2 and 2 together and making the Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
I've got another separate question. It's not in my notes, but I want to ask you. Whenever shit seemingly is going down, this can apply to Buffy, it can apply to, I guess, any teenage superhero TV programme. Where are the other students? There's always stragglers, there's always caretakers, there's always people who either don't hear the alarm bells or got mixed up or end up hiding. You can't tell me the whole area where this stuff's going down is fully evacuated and no one's there to see it. there must be an annoying, enterprising child or an adult or a concerned member of society who stays behind to have a look and see what's going on.
You'd think.
Well, how do they know who saves them? And why do they never get seen transforming into their suits? Or in Buffy, why does a student... they never see Buffy killing someone?
Actually, that did happen in
But they end up dying, don't they not?
3. I think it was the graduation episode. And the headmaster gets eaten by this big snaky thing.
Yeah, that was a good episode, actually.
But the students are there fighting with her. I mean... But yeah, no, you've got a point.
More broadly speaking, though, it just seems very, very convenient that they are saving the world and no one's there to see them.
Didn't Bulk and Skull sort of figure out who the Power Rangers were at one point? But then they had to try and convince the two of them that they were imagining things.
I mean, you're talking about 28 years now, mate.
Yeah.
I need to go back and watch them. Or not.
Netflix.
Are they all of them? Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's the only reason why I got Netflix originally back in 2017.
For Power Rangers?
Just for Power Rangers.
Wow.
I've still got it. Watching more crap, as you and your wife found out, with heists and sex magic.
I love it. Get me some sex magic.
If anyone wants to know what I'm talking about, go check out a series called Heist. So 6 episodes, and each 2 episodes is about a particular heist. And there is this one woman that apparently gets, I suppose, it's like hypnosis through sex magic. She goes on a heist in Las Vegas. She takes up a job as a truck driver that drops the money off to the different locations, and she drives off with like millions of dollars.
It wasn't my fault, mate. I was hypnotised.
Sex magic.
It was sex magic. Yeah, sure. Why not? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Absent students. No one's working it out. What's that all about?
Wow, talking about identities. Let's head over to Breaking Bad. So this is my final one. Season 2.
Yeah.
Walt and Jesse's IDs. So, whilst Walt and Jesse are being held captive by Tuco takes their identifications. The duo then escape right before Tuco gets shot by Hank. But what happens to the ID? All the IDs that he's taken away?
Yeah.
You'd have thought their IDs would incriminate them, or at least the DA would have called them to testify. They don't. Since Tuco was one of the biggest drug traffickers in the state, the DEA would have checked the house as well as his pockets after his death. This way, they would have found Walt and Jesse's IDs and then called them in for questioning. Again, this wouldn't have failed to happen because Hank, who was Walt's brother-in-law, who was a copper, very good copper.
One of my favourite actors, and perfectly written for this series. He was great. Hank.
He was very thorough by nature.
Yeah,
he was very good at his job, but he never found those IDs.
Yeah,
and nor were they incriminated in any way. Makes no sense, but then I suppose that's why we've got 5 seasons.
Yeah, true.
But I'd like to know what Tuco did with those IDs.
Where were those bloody IDs? What'd you do with them, Tuco?
Yeah. So, season 2, Breaking Bad. Walt and Jesse's IDs.
Troubling. The Walking Dead, Dan.
I got up to the end of season 8 on this one as well, actually, and I got bored.
I got to the end of season 7 for me. But yeah, I never saw it all the way through.
It was around when Negan was around and
same,
causing destruction and crushing people's heads in.
Yeah.
Quite grim.
R.I.P. Infinite Fuel, Dan. It took 9 seasons for the writers of The Walking Dead to finally address one of the show's biggest plot holes. How is it that every car they find seems to have a full tank of gas?
Yeah.
And more specifically, shouldn't that gas, which presumably has been sitting there for years, have gone bad? Because petrol, diesel, does eventually turn, it oxidises or it becomes impure, and just due to the nature of normal vehicle maintenance, those vehicles can't process that fuel, or the combustion doesn't quite work effectively or efficiently. So what is going on? Why could they seemingly find all these cars that are in half decent nick but have been weathered, and they can drive for miles?
Yeah, quite.
Well, as we learned in the first episode of season 9, well, we didn't, but as you might have done, listener, it turns out that some of the characters have been converting dead corn into ethanol all along. So they're actually using more sustainable methods of fuel and vehicular transport, but they never really explained it, and I think that's just a poor way of trying to get around the fact of they had an infinite amount of fuel and petrol stations seem to be running.
Do you reckon it was a forum thing? So the writers were on the old Walking Dead forums. Tim, fucking hell, Jim's moaning again, saying that these people that we're writing about, we've got endless fuel.
Exactly.
Do you know what?
Got to close that loop.
Well, Rob, we should probably write in that they're making.
They're growing the crops.
They're growing crops and making fuel out of dead corn. Nonsense. Don't give me none of that.
No. Now you could say, well, actually, all of these shows, as I think you already mentioned, it's all about suspending belief, and we are picking plot holes than minor things, but the minor things do count. We do care about them because they're the things that we are familiar with and we recognise and we can associate. You can't associate, hopefully not. You can't associate with zombies. You can't associate with dragons. You can't associate with drug dealers. Well, some can.
Vampires.
Not anymore. But you know what I mean? But it's the smaller things where you go, okay, well, let's just ignore that. But what about this? What about the things that should be real in the real world and they're not? That don't make any sense. So yes, okay, there are zombies and hordes of the undead. But how do you drive your car?
Yeah.
That's what we care about. That was my last one, Dan. It was The Walking Dead.
Wowzers. Wow, we should head over to the listener. Right, well, first up, we've got Luke. Not sure it's a plot hole as such, but in The Shawshank Redemption, Luke, this is a film. You could have dropped this in OTT 69.
He had the chance.
That Andy... how do I say that surname, Alex? Dustfreen escapes and manages to get the poster back over his tunnel entrance with enough tension that the warden throws goes straight through it. Interesting. He said it counts as a TV plot hole if the film is shown on a TV channel before anyone comes for me. I didn't see his disclaimer before I shot him down.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, Luke.
Yeah, we're not here to ridicule or to chastise our listeners who are contributing. It's technically a movie, but fine. Yeah, it's shown on TV now, so why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
it's a good point because and also surely it's going to be it's all going to be dog-eared and it's going to be scrunched up. So it's a fair point actually. How can it be perfectly taught?
Yeah. It's a good point. I mean, fair play, Luke. I mean, we probably will do plot holes Volume 2 for both film and TV because there's so many out there. It's a rabbit hole. So maybe we'll revisit next year.
I like it.
We've got a couple from Dan next. He says...
Tell us.
Sticking with Buffy. In Season 1, Cordelia describes Sunnydale as a small one Starbucks town. A few seasons later, Sunnydale also has a university campus and an international airport, which is true.
It's true.
It's true. It's all of a sudden this
it explodes and it's got literally at the end. But yeah, it's got millions of residents and it's got all this infrastructure and it's massive.
Bit of a continuity thing, but it just doesn't make any sense. So that is a good one, actually.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
In Friends, Rachel and Chandler are introduced to each other in episode 1. Later in flashbacks, we find out they had Thanksgiving dinner together and shared a kiss in college.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Again, is that poor writing or just continuity stuff? Do people not think to look back on what's happened in previous seasons?
Not everyone can be a Kevin Feige. You've got everything mapped out and you've got strings on boards and... Yeah, no thread is left unfinished. But that is a real obvious odd one. I mean, similar to The Big Bang Theory, where I mentioned at the top of the episode, where characters were present when these events happened, but seemingly forgot and had to be explained in season 1. The whole origins, that's the issue, I guess, is when you're quite mature in seasons, as both are, and you end up writing stuff that's almost a prequel. I guess there's so much to cover off that you just forget, but that's quite an obvious one when the whole premise is about people getting to know each other.
I mean, you can get away with it in things like The Simpsons, because, I mean, how many origin stories we had throughout 32, 33 seasons, is it now?
What is real anyway, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, staying on the topic of Friends, Kelly has sent us one in. I'd like to know where Ross's son Ben went in Friends. The occasional mention of his name, but he just vanished one day and was never seen again.
Oh, bleak.
Well, Kelly, have you not seen the one where Ben disappears?
Oh. That's not a thing, is it?
No, it's not, no. I just...
wow, that's dark.
It's quite bleak if you want to run with my idea. He fell down a drain hole in Manhattan and was never seen again. Just a big puff of steam came up.
That is bleak.
I've just turned a comedy show into something absolutely horrendous.
But he ends up being befriended by a mutant rat who ends up training him along with his 4 mutant turtle brothers, and he ends up becoming the next member of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Or does he become Shredder?
Or does he get eaten by alligators? Ooh. Apparently alligators, it's an urban myth, isn't it? Alligators live in the New York sewers.
I feel like we've missed our calling in life, Alex. We've talked about this many times.
Urban myths.
We should...
Or New York. Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Writing our own films.
Yeah, actually.
Writing ridiculous plots. This is a weekly roundup days thing.
It is.
It's just, yeah.
We could do that, couldn't we? What we could do is put all of our ideas into ChatGPT and say, make a film with these plot threads, and it'll spew out something that is really unintelligible, but still far better than what we'd ever come up with ourselves.
Tap into the local creatives, and we'll put a film out there. We'll tap up Mike from Solar Sky Services. He's got the cameras, he's got the drones.
He's got the kit.
We'll get some local musicians to lay the music over the top.
Do a low-budget local film.
It'll be like Sharknado, literally. It'll be a thing of beauty, you know it.
Let's put a pin on it and come back to someone.
I think we should. And then we got a voice message from Claire. So let's have a listen.
So my plot hole covers all modern day vampire TV shows and films, but for the purpose of this podcast, TV shows. And it's about vampires having a lack of reflection. So back in the old days, mirrors were coated in silver, and silver was considered to be a holy metal, hence the reason why vampires couldn't see their own reflection, because they were basically staring into a holy metal and they're demons. If you think about up-to-date vampires, mirrors are no longer coated in silver, they're coated in aluminium, and obviously windows have no coating at all. So modern day vampires in Buffy and Angel should be able to see their own reflection, should have a reflection in mirror, in glass, etc., but they don't. Is this considered a plot hole, or is this just because we know what we know about vampires is that they don't have a reflection?
It's very interesting.
It is. Is it about the material, or is it just about the fact of they don't carry their reflection? It's a real interest. I've never really thought about that, to be honest. I didn't know that much about mirrors.
No.
I'm learning. Silver, now aluminium. I didn't even know it was aluminium. Shows how much how little I actually know about basic science.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Fascinating. I mean, every day's a school day on the topic, apparently. Wow.
What do you reckon, Dan?
I mean, there's no, continuity with things like vampires, is there?
No, everyone's different, literally.
Different iterations of sort of vampires. I mean, I don't really watch a lot of horror anyway. I mean, I sort of like the sort of tacky, sort of vampire-y things like Buffy. But, I mean, there are... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not really you can't say it's a continuity thing. Or maybe these writers just aren't doing their research.
Because vampires, I mean, again, back in the day, if we're talking about, the Bram Stoker era, vampires could transform into bats.
Yes.
And they could fly in and lurk in the shadows and transform. But I guess over the decades that has tended to kind of be left to fringe storytelling, and now they are walking amongst us or only coming out at night, but they're humanoid and they can't transfigure or can't transform. So it might be an evolution thing, but it looks like whatever's happened throughout history, the one thing that has stuck is reflection. So I suspect it's not the material; it's the fact that they don't present an image back.
Yeah, it's a good one. Fascinating. Well, that wraps it up for TV plot holes. I'll say there'll probably be volume 2 for both films and TV next year. It's quite a vast rabbit hole to dive down, and there's a lot out there.
There are
some very good things to discuss. But Alex, what we're coming up next? We've sort of mapped out the next few weeks.
We're probably going to do a Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Yeah, so we're going to do an on-the-go episode. We haven't done one of those for a while. And usually we only sort of save these on-the-go episodes for like Marvel films. So it'd be good to do something slightly different.
Well, our first one, Dan, ever.
Jurassic World, wasn't it?
Nah.
Oh, it was Bond.
James Bond.
Yeah.
No Time to Die. I didn't realise that until I was doing some conversions for YouTube, which were now up-to-date listeners. Yeah. But no, you're right. Ordinarily, it would be a Marvel-related film. But yeah, we're gonna continue the tradition of ASMR.
ASMR.
Yeah. Where you know what ASMR is? You know, where you're walking around and you can hear things and...
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So ASMR, walking around Old Portsmouth and Gun Wharf as we hear this and see, for us at least, the sights and sounds as we do a spoiler-free review of the film.
And then we'll do a big review the following week.
Yep.
We'll probably do some TW Rad Vaults as well in between.
Oh, yes.
I think we've probably got time for one more episode, which we're trying to work out what that could potentially be. I mean, we should probably explain what a TW Rad Vault is for some of our listeners. Because if anyone's been sort of with us since the beginning, you'll know we were called previously the Weekly Roundup with Alex and Dan. Now, of course, that wasn't tangible when we sort of hit COVID times because it's oddly...
We weren't doing much, Dan.
We weren't doing much.
But it was difficult. It was difficult to keep a weekly schedule up because, life.
Well, there wasn't really much to talk about.
Well, quite, actually, because we weren't really living life, were we?
No. And of course, we used to do the monthly episodes where we'll sort of talk about, what was going on in the pop culture world, like film news, TV, Netflix, Amazon, all that good stuff. And of course, we couldn't. So we rebranded as On the Topic. So anyone that's been here since the beginning, you're probably, why are you releasing these TW Rad episodes? Or maybe we've got YouTube listeners that are going, what is a TW Rad Vault? So basically, we are just bringing back some of our old episodes primarily for our YouTube listeners.
Yeah, or perhaps to people who have found us in our later version of the podcast and missed some really good episodes. And there are some really, really good ones that we did a couple of years ago. So we thought we'd bring them forward. We give a bit about why it's our favourite episodes, what we enjoyed most, and then we let the episode roll. Warts and all, because of course we have progressed as a podcast over the years, and we sound a little bit different, and there's a little bit more spit and polish. But they are still really good episodes to hopefully bring to the forefront, and hopefully people can to discover and enjoy. I
think we've got a couple lined up. We've got Conspiracy Theory Volume 1.
We do.
So of course, they were on YouTube. You can listen to Volume 2, but that will be coming up at some point. And your favourite disaster movies.
We do. Yep, so perfect hangover fuel for Dan, and a really good episode, one of our favourites.
Yeah, we should probably drop favourite 90s films at some point as well.
Yeah, good shout.
Because that's sort of where it's all explained. This is why we did the episode on disaster films.
Indeed.
Some good stuff. So we've got some exciting things coming up. And of course, if you want to get in touch, we are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, which I should probably use a bit more of. That is at On The Topic Pod. And we've got Gmail, which is On The Topic Podcast at gmail.com. And Alex, we've got WordPress and, of course, our YouTube channel, which is now up to date, as you said.
It is.
Exciting times.
It is very exciting. So, yeah, those are all the contact details about how to get into contact and let us know if there's some comments, some thoughts, some feedback, or some episode content you want to hear coming up. Or you can visit our WordPress, our website, and on there you can go to ontopicpodcast.wordpress.com and you can see all of our episodes on there are lovely audio content from way back when. You can see our ugly mugs, our bios, you can subscribe to our newsletter, and there's some bonus content on there. More recently we've had from our birthday, our AMA, we've got our favourite crisps, and a poll there all the way through to our recent dead internet and the AI nightmare fuel that it generated.
Yeah, I'm having fun with being AI at the moment, as I said at the start.
It's a great tool.
So you should probably head over to our Instagram or Facebook page and look at the weird creative imagery that I just typed in the search engine. It's produced. It's
some quality content. So that's on the topic, podcast.wordpress.com, and if you go over to YouTube, if perhaps you want to leave it on the background or you want to have it, perhaps, I don't know, where would you watch YouTube on the go? You can, I guess, leave it running with the screen unlocked in your pocket, maybe.
I think you can tap into, YouTube Music. I don't really know enough about it, but I think you can close your screen while you use it. I don't know. Okay,
well, we're on there anyway, and people are watching and streaming and subscribing, which is great. All you've got to do is search for On Topic Podcast, or our short handle is at OTTGITS, which is On Topic Get in C.
Yeah, we're not gits.
We're not gits.
We could be. Well, if you disagree with
sometimes I misbehave, but I'm not sure if I'd go as far as saying kids.
I think it's probably going to be me that gets us cancelled, though, to be fair.
Perhaps.
We'll have to see.
But I mean, if you're not cancelled now, we're doing pretty well.
5 years.
Is that how long we've got left?
That's how long we've been going. I mean, we could go for another 5 years.
Go out on a bang on our 10th anniversary.
Boom. Bye.
But, well, the clock is ticking. We've got 5 more years of audio content, so get your fill whilst we're still here. But yes, we're on YouTube as well, so hit that subscribe button, notification bell when a new episode drops at the same time as the podcast. There's literally no excuse and not to listen, stream and enjoy some audio goodness from the south coast of the UK.
Absolutely. And that's it for another week. I'm off to figure out whether my powers are powered by the blood or by the brain. I've been Dan.
And I'm going to go and fish out some mythical creatures from the bottom of a lake, but I'm a bit scared of water. I'm Alex.
And we'll see you next time.